Hi, I'm Dennis. Welcome to All Scale Slot Cars. In this video, I think I'd like to ask for those of you who are um, watching slot car videos and really enjoying them, exploring the world of slot cars, but haven't taken the leap yet into actually purchasing a set or some sort of track and at least a car or two to drive around the track and just to experience it for yourself. My question today is, what is preventing you from doing that? And I've been thinking, and the most I can come up with, there's a few reasons why. I have my top 10 reasons on what I believe may be keeping people away from slot cars and not taking that little step into the world of slot cars. And so I'd like to explore that. These are my top 10 reasons why I believe. And let's just dive into it. Here's the first one. I believe that first of all, there's not a lot of awareness for slot cars. These have been around for decades and decades, and the people who know about them are the people who seem to love them, and there's people that just aren't aware of them, especially younger generations. There hasn't been quite the awareness in slot cars recently. There's no real toy stores that are selling them. There's no Toys R Us that I remember taking my son to when he was younger. We would take him to Toys R Us, and there would be, cases of slot cars, boxes and sets of slot cars all over the place amongst all the other toys. They were a great option, and you just don't see that anymore. Outside, I know of Hobby Lobby that has a couple of sets, but it's not like really promoted. You don't see any commercials. So there's really no interest or very little new interest in the hobby. Those of us that have been around know, and if you're maybe your father or your grandfather taught them to you, so you've always been aware of them, or you just came across them recently in a YouTube video or somewhere on the internet, and you say, wow, that looks pretty interesting. I never knew about this. I know we'll have people over here sometimes and they'll say, I never knew this existed. This is incredible. And they're blown away by it. And then that just, helps spread the word. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is just help spread the word and create the awareness. And I think that's reason number one, is that people just aren't aware of what they are. My niece was here recently, and she was like, I don't know what that is. It's an electric car. It's a car that moves on the track. You don't have to do anything to push the car or anything. You just press your controller, and your car moves, and it becomes one with you as it rides around the track. And so that alone, that's reason number one. Reason number two, I believe, that's keeping people away are that they consider it a toy, or they think others will view them as playing with toys. Now, believe me, I get that. I've had that all my life. I was introduced to slot cars in the early 70s when I was very young, and as I grew a little older into a teenager, it was something that you kind of didn't want to talk about. As much as I enjoyed it, you kind of don't want to talk about. You don't want to be the nerd that's playing with the toy cars. And that's basically what you'd be perceived as. So it kind of got put away, sadly, but not out of my mind. And that's something that always was there, And then when I had my child, he brought that out in me, and then I had a valid reason to be playing with toys. And then he grew up, and then back to the closet everything went, and now I have grandchildren, and then now it's back out. So believe me, I understand that. If you don't have children or somebody in your life that you can hang out with and understands the hobby, you don't want to be perceived as being that guy, as wrong as that is. And some people, you could see the look on their faces. I'll bring this up to people, and tell them about it, and you can kind of see, oh yeah, they're like, oh great, but you could see their mind going like, oh, he's like, he's this big kid, it's I don't know, you could just see it, you could just tell, but at the same time they could have those thoughts about you, but then they go and they turn on their PlayStation at night and play their video games, or work on their puzzles, or watch their TV shows that you might think are lame and mindless. So, everybody's got something that they want to escape to and that they enjoy. And if people consider it a toy, great. As long as you're having fun with it, if you don't want to tell the world, you don't have to tell the world. It's your own private little thing that you could set up and take out and just hang out with and enjoy, watch cars going around the track and try to get some, good laps in, and however you enjoy it. That's the one of the worst things, I think, to keep people away from slot cars is what they're perceived as, because they're no more than a toy than anything else. People playing solitaire on their phones, or any kind of games on their phones. Why is that okay? It shouldn't be that this is ostracized. It's just one of those things that bothers me. And so I think really, to enjoy it, you have to get over that hurdle and just set your mind aside that, this is what I want to enjoy. And once you get past that, you're golden. Um, Another thing that keeps people away, I would say reason number three, is the budget. You just don't have the money to purchase slot cars. You could see online how expensive they could be. I could tell you, it doesn't have to be that way. Of course, in any hobby or whatever, it's only as, you know, you can only go down this rabbit hole as far as you want to go. Sometimes it leads you down a little farther than what you thought, so you have to be very careful. But if you decide I just want to keep it simple, I just want to have it to where I have a couple cars going around the track. You don't need a 4-lane track. You could just get a 2-lane track. You don't need the new track coming out, the new sets coming out, the shiny new objects. You can get, older track if you want to go the older Scalextric, or if you're into HO, the smaller scale like this, you can get a 2-lane track with, Tyco or lifelike track, or Aurora AFX track way back in the 70s or 80s. You can find them cheap now at garage sales, even on internet sites. You can find the track for very cheap. The track is very inexpensive. That's the least problem, and it's really a one-time purchase. Once you get your track and a couple of nice controllers and your power supply, which is all pretty much in your standard set, just make sure everything's in there, and you have enough track to go around to complete a circuit. And you can even get a couple more pieces very cheaply, a couple more straights to add on to your layout, and that comes in time. But that should not be an obstacle, because once you get, it's the one-time purchase. And you can even tell your family, when your birthday's coming up and they always ask you, what do you want for your birthday? And you say, nothing, I got everything I need. Well, how about a slot car set? Even if you can't afford, or they can't afford to buy the fancy new sets that are $100, $200 or more, you can have them see if they can find some older track for $50 that's complete, that runs, and there you go. It's a one-time purchase. You set it up and you're good. And as far as cars, you really only need a couple of cars. And if the set comes with a couple of cars, you can find a set that collectors really don't want, because maybe the cars are scuffed up, but they do run. Make sure they do run, but the cars are scuffed up. They're missing, whatever. They have a little bit of damage. Their numbers worn off. Their paint's chipped or worn off. They're missing a mirror or something. So collectors aren't interested. So that drives the price down. But that's perfect for you, because you want to see if this is something you like. So that's perfect. You got to get yourself a couple of cars, drive them around, see how you like it. If it's just not your thing, it's not your thing, don't worry about it. You can always probably resell everything and get your money back on your investment. So you're not really losing out much other than the experience to see if you actually like it. Um, the other thing, I would say reason number four is the lack of space is why people don't get into slot cars. They just don't have the space. And I understand that. Thankfully, I've been blessed. We have a house that has a spare bedroom, and I was able to put my Carrera large scale track in that bedroom and set up that as the slot car room. Very, very fortunate. I count my blessings every day that we have that. And also this garage. I had my eye on a space in this garage. Now we've lived in this house for like 30 years or so, 25, 30 years. And a car has never gone into this garage. It's a single car garage. A car has never gone on here because we have we have so much to store that we just keep everything stored here, all the Christmas ornaments and stuff. So we knew that we'd never use it to store a car, even in the event of some natural disaster coming. We knew we couldn't keep our car here. But I always eyed this spot, and first I thought this was going to be my Carrera track here. And if you see my first ever video, I think I explained this about how I thought I wanted in the garage, but luckily that room came available. And but now, I looked at this and I said, okay, now I worked out a spot in my mind. Every day I walk into the garage and just visualize what a track would look like, how much space I would want to have, and still be able to utilize the garage and not have a tight fit of anything else. Everything had to be easy access and everything. So I was able to work it out. I visualized it in my mind, and I'm very fortunate. I also have the garage because my other love is these HO cars, and I also love the 143rd scale cars, and I set up that on top of the larger scale track from time to time because I love that too. I love all scales, obviously. Yeah, so as far as space goes, I understand if you don't have that spare bedroom, you don't have a garage, but if you have a living room floor, a kitchen table or dining room table that you can sometimes set up something, that's wonderful. You can set it up, keep it up for a few days until your spouse gets upset or you need it for something, and then you take it down. Or if it's in the living room, you can set it up, keep most of your setup intact, just break it off in a few places and push it into the corner whenever you need the dining room. If someone's coming over or whatever, break it up in a few pieces, put it away, and then bring it back out again. Even if it's a few weeks later or a few months later, bring it back out. And if you want to collect some slot cars in the meantime, whenever you get a new slot car that comes in, set your track back up, and that's your time. Every so often you could do that. It doesn't have to be, a permanent structure. It could just be just a temporary thing that you break out every now and then and put back in the closet or leave in the corner for a little bit and bring out. So that's issue number four. Issue number five, and this one is a tough one. It's health. People probably don't get into slot cars because their health is suffering, and it's very difficult to do much of anything, and that's completely understandable. I would not push anybody into anything in that condition, and if watching slot car videos and watching other people have fun is all you can really do, I feel horrible for people in that instance, and that can strike anyone. So there's nobody that's immune to that. And so that's completely understandable. And I sympathize with that situation. But even in that situation, if you do have some mobility, these aren't that difficult. You can have somebody help you set it up if you have a neighbor or a family member that can help you set up a track. They really put together in minutes, and it's very, very simple and straightforward instructions on these. and you can get going in no time. Just have some catch fencing to catch your cars, and and as long as you have that, if your car goes D-slots and it hits the catch fencing, you don't have to worry about chasing it all over the living room or onto the floor and whatever happens after that. So that those are really good for containing most of the wayward cars. So yeah, once if you have somebody set it up for you, even if you do maybe have a little permanent spot for it, somebody can help you set it up and set it up on a table, and so you could sit down in your favorite chair, hold on to your controller, and away you go, and just take a slot car around the track and just enjoy it for what it is. You don't have to go fast, you just enjoy it, watching your favorite car go around. So I can understand health to to certain degrees, but it's good to still keep as active as you can. And this could be the thing that helps your mind, just get your mind off of some problems that you have, and help you with some mobility and getting around, giving you some reason to get up out of wherever you normally sit and go to your slot car area, and drive around your car, and just just enjoy life, simple life. Um, Number six, I believe, that keep people away from slot cars or don't get them involved in the first place, or is because they have too many hobbies. They consider themselves having too many hobbies. They're into RCs, and they're into flying kites, and they're into driving go-karts, and they're into actually racing cars, real cars, and into video games, whatever it is, into building Legos or completing puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, crossword puzzles, or games on their phone. There's too much they're doing already on top of work schedules, and they just have very little time for anything else. But if you're watching this, I believe you're here because you do have some sort of interest, some sort of there's something that's drawing you here. Not just my channel. There's hundreds of slot car channels that offer fantastic content, and I highly suggest checking them out too if you haven't. If I'm your gateway into this, there's much more than me. There's a lot to explore in the slot car world, and but if it's because of that, why not have slot cars be just one more little hobby? And you never know, that might come to the forefront. You might just get a set, like I was saying before. Your birthday's coming up, so you ask the kids, oh, instead of saying, give me another drill, get me a slot car set. Give me an HO slot car set. Pool your money. If you have three kids, they can each spend 25, $30 a piece, and buy you a nice slot car set that has two nice cars and enough track to go around, and start enjoying the hobby that way, and set it up for Christmas if it's for Christmas or whatever holiday you're celebrating, and set it up and see if everybody enjoys it. See, and first of all, see if you enjoy it, and if it's something that you could see may compete with your other hobbies, then you have it and you can put it back in the closet. Another month goes by, you can bring it back down and enjoy it again, and it may over time just latch onto your heartstrings, and you just love the hobby as much as I fell in love with it, and many others have fallen in love with it. So give it a chance, and let it be at least one more hobby that you can take down from time to time, that's relatively very inexpensive. Once you get past that startup cost, there's really not much else you need. If you drive cars around quite a bit, you may need to change a pickup shoe, which is a very simple procedure, or get a little bit of oil and dab it on your cars. And there's videos that people have made that I can help you with if you need. Just ask on how to keep up on your cars. If you're wearing them down, if you've only got a couple and you want to just keep that couple, that's fine. And you can have those cars forever. I've had cars from the 70s that I still hold on to that are still work fantastic. Almost probably better than when I was a kid, because now I know how to tune them up better. And so, yeah, so let it be another hobby that may just come to the forefront. You never know. But I would say give it a chance. Of course, I'm biased, so you don't have to listen to any of this. But if you're paying attention so far, I think maybe you're leaning towards it. So that would be reason 6. Reason 7 is you're not really a car enthusiast. You're not into cars. You don't know what cars are. You can't tell me what that is, what those are, what those are. You don't know what that is. But you may like the look of them. You know, you may find yourself, everybody drives down the street. Well, for the most part, everyone drives down the street or rides down the street in their car, and they stop at a stoplight and they peer over at another car, and they see something that catches their eye. They say, that's beautiful. I really like that. Look at the contours. Look at the color on that. I love that car. I have no idea what it is, but I love that. And there's something for everyone when it comes to slot cars. You'd be surprised. It's not just race cars. It's all different sort of things. If you see my series on slot cars, what character, I feature all the real weird slot cars, all the different, from comic book characters and TV shows and everything. There's anything you can want. Movies. There's so much to explore. But if you don't like that stuff and you don't like race cars, you don't go to the racetrack, that's just not you. You don't watch races, but you love the way the cars look on the road. You ever stop by and pass this car and say, wow, that's beautiful. I can only dream of purchasing that, though. And that's what I go through, because, these cars in real life are not cheap. They're very expensive. So, you buy your car and you're driving it around on the road, your old fuddy car, but you dream of driving one of these beauties. With slot cars, you can kind of fulfill that dream. Now, it's not the actual car, but these cars are so well done, so to the tiniest little detail in many cases, that these cars represent what those full-size cars are. And it's almost like having your own, and you can have a fleet of your own. And it's up to you to figure out how much you want to have in your fleet, how many cars you want to have in your fleet. Maybe just a handful, maybe just 1 or 2, maybe 100. Whatever you want, you get to pick the car that you want to drive, that you never had. In high school, did one of your buddies have this? Or maybe you had this, and you love that car. And you can't afford that these days. You're sorry you sold it, but there it is. And you can take that around on the track. You can enjoy it, take it out whenever you want, take it for a few laps, and then put it away, and it's yours forever. And God willing, for all this. So that's one way. You don't have to be a car enthusiast. You just have to know what you like. If there's a car on the road that you really like, and you say, I love that car. I have no idea what that is. I don't know what that is, but I love that car. And that's the same with slot cars. You can look at pictures of slot cars. You can go through sites and stuff and just see what you like and pick up what you like. And you don't have to even know what it is. But if you're like me, you can learn through slot cars what cars are. After a while, you become so used to seeing cars, if you're looking through them enough, that you could spot what they are. And that helps you in real life. When you see a car driving down the street, you could say that's a Corvette C8. Yeah, I know a Corvette C8 because that's what it is. And because I have the slot car that I love, and it's the same. And that really helps you, and it can actually help draw you into being a car enthusiast, but you don't have to. It's not a requirement. You just have to love what you love in whatever it is. If it's a Disney character and you like the Disney characters, or Speed Racer, or anything like that, you want to experience that going around your track, and that's your joy. That's fantastic. I guess reason number 8 is you look at it as you're not a racer, and this is what may keep plenty of people away from the slot car hobby. They don't consider themselves slot car racers or racers in general. They never were. They don't. They're timid of the competition. They're intimidated by the competition, and they see there's people who have raced slot cars since the 1960s who now are in their 70s and 80s, and they're very, very skilled at it. They know what they're doing. They know how to tune cars to get every iota of speed, that get down to the thousandth of a second speed per lap, by tweaking and tuning up their cars. And they know how to drive around the track. They've done millions of laps around tracks, and they are very skilled. They won championships at their tracks. That's all very intimidating. And now, in my personal case, now, when I was a kid, I had my own slot car track, and very few other kids did. And so at my track, I did many multiple laps. So I was very, very skilled at it. Not to say like I'm some world champion racer, but I became very skilled at it to where there was no one else that can compete with me. And I never went to the clubs. I never even knew they existed. I just had the kids on my block that I played with and hung out with, and they would come into the basement and we would race the slot cars. But I was just so much better because of so much experience I had. Now that's a thing, and that was a problem, growing up. I never explored it further to, like I said, go to clubs and stuff. It was something that my friends became kind of bored because they knew they couldn't beat me. And never realizing at the time, we were so kind of naive that there's things we could put as equalizers. We can say, okay, I get a lap advantage. I have to do 21 laps to your 20, or different things like that, or test out a whole bunch of cars and give me the slowest one in the bunch and see if I can still overcome different things like that. I should have thought of it. I was too just naive just to take it for what it was. So here's some advice for you. If you are on either end of that spectrum, if you're very, very experienced or not experienced at all, you can play with the scenarios a little bit on what you could do to give some advantages to the disadvantaged, and vice versa. So there's ways to get around that. So I wouldn't be intimidated by that. Now, I know what intimidation is because now in the 90s, I took my son to a slot car track. And it was the first time I'd ever seen one. And there were a bunch of guys racing there, and they were very intensely involved in it. And it was a big track, and the cars did not impress me. They weren't these kind of cars. They were just set up for racing, and they weren't what I would call pretty, and that was a big turnoff as it was. And the group that was racing was so involved with themselves, they didn't even notice my son and I standing there watching. And we watched for a few minutes, and then we left, and we said, no, that's not for us. Now, there's different kind of clubs. Don't let that turn you off. There's more inviting clubs. There's clubs for beginners and different all skill levels. That was just one experience that I had. So that turned me off. So I understand that part of it, that aspect of it. So just take that into consideration, that there's different ways to enjoy it. You don't have to be that racer. You can just drive a car around the track. You don't have to, I'll take it for another spin. You don't have to race it around the track. You can just drive it and just watch it go around for the beauty of what it is. A nice leisurely, ever get in your car and do a Sunday drive just to drive around the countryside. You can make it. Now this is basically no scenery on this track. This is going to be the canvas for my grandkids if they're so inclined to help me decorate it. As they get a little older, they can personalize it the way they want. And because I really don't have much interest in doing that sort of thing, I'd rather leave it up to them. But everyone's, got their own talents, their own ambitions, their own, dreams, and you could build your track the way you want with your own scenery and personalize it the way you want, or do what I do and wait for somebody else to do it for you. um, yeah, so and watch your car driving through the countryside. Doesn't have to be a racetrack. You can design it like the countryside, and just like you were driving in your your full size real car that's in your driveway or garage or parking lot of your apartment complex or condo, whatever your situation is. So yeah, you don't have to be a racer. You don't have to set world records. You could be the only one driving. You can have your secret records. You can keep lap times of your cars, and your friends don't have to know that when they use your cars, they're getting a second faster around the track per lap than you did. They don't have to know that. You just give them a car and you enjoy it and say, we're coming over just to watch cars going around. If they want to time their cars and see who can get the fastest lap on whatever car, that's fantastic. And let them have fun the way they want. You know, when they leave, you could bring out your record books again and check through your lap times and say, they got, a 4.8 on with this Corvette, and I got a 5.1. I can get that down, and you can work on it, and you can learn from the way they were driving on how they took the turns and accelerated into the straights, and you can bring those lap times down if you're so inclined. If not, you just want to drive that car around and glad everyone had fun and enjoyed themselves and went home happy, and maybe even spread the word about slot cars, which is fantastic. And that's the most you can ask, is just to have fun with it. Um, Another thing, reason number 9, I believe, would be there's nobody in your life to race with. There's nobody, either um, if it's a situation where you've just been shut in and you don't have any friends that can come over, you work long hours and you just don't have those acquaintances, or even if you do have some, they're just not into it. You brought up the subject of slot cars and they're not into it. There's no way, and you can tell they're not coming over to do this. Even if you showed them, they would just laugh in your face and say, "Oh, let's go drink. Let's go have a beer. That's enough of that." So you just, for some reason or other, you just don't have anyone. You don't have any children. Your spouse isn't involved if you have a spouse. There's just nobody. You don't have any siblings. It's sad to go there, but this is the case in some cases, that people that keep people away from slot cars is that they don't have anybody, and they say it's lonely. Well, I could tell you it's not lonely. I mean, I'm fortunate. I do have my grandchildren, my son, my wife sometimes, guests sometimes, that come over and enjoy this. So I'm not alone, so I can't come at it from that perspective. But the majority of the time, I would say 95% of the time, it's just me. And I don't feel lonely. This is a great escape for me. I get to become one with each car and to enjoy it for what it is. And each car behaves differently going around your track. It behaves differently at each turn. It has different speeds, and each one is a unique experience, and you get to learn that the more cars you have. But not saying you need more cars. You can have your 2 cars that came in the set and try to just enjoy them for what they are. Take them around, set up a track, take them around a little bit. You can race them, you can enjoy them, build a little countryside, diorama for them, and just enjoy it any way you want. There's so many different ways. So that's a thing right there. And I'm intending on, I actually have the timing system in my living room that I'm setting up that will be incorporated into this track, and look for that in the coming installments of this channel. But you can have a timing system, or use your phone. Phones have good timing systems, and you could try to set lap records, see which cars are your fastest or which cars you can drive the fastest. You don't have to do that, But there's different ways to explore it. And like I had mentioned, just driving it around and just kicking back and watching it go. You can tie a rubber band around the controller at slow speeds, at slow voltage, and just watch it go around and round and sit back and just enjoy the sound of it going around the track. That's peaceful. That any way you want. I hate to keep saying that, but there's so many different ways. And the solitude aspect is should not be a factor. If that is, I would wipe that right out, because when you think of it, most of our hobbies are pretty solitary. If we're doing video games, okay, you might be online playing a game against someone, but you really don't know them. And it's kind of the same with slot cars. There's different racing leagues that are starting up now that you're racing against people all over the world. So there's that aspect of it. Yeah, and yeah, there's so many ways. So I would not let reason number 9 keep you from getting involved in the slot cars if you're so inclined. Now, reason number 10, I'm actually going to keep that one open, because I'd like to hear your thoughts on why you're not taking that leap into the slot car world, even if it's just to get a starter set and just to go around. If it's not one of the 9 reasons I've mentioned, I'd like to know, what is your particular reason why? And maybe there's a way to work through that, or maybe it's an impossible barrier that it's not going to happen. But I'm curious to know, what are people's reasons why? And I really appreciate your time, and I always welcome comments. If you have any questions, I always welcome them. I answer everything that comes in. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned. There's more exciting stuff to come. But yeah, if you'd like to share your thoughts, I'm very interested. And even if it's one of the 9 I mentioned, if it's one of those and you'd like to explore that a little bit more than I mentioned, if you have more questions on any of that, let me know, and we'll see if we can work through it. All right, and thank you so much, and have a great day.